name some things that you think of when you think of weeds.
Dandelions.
Ragweed, allergies.
Ragweed, that's a good one.
All three of the ones I mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were actually just out at his property on Sunday picking and playing with ragweed, which would probably frighten some of you. But I was reading in the book that 90% of all airborne allergens are due to ragweed exclusively. But where there's an ailment, there's a cure. And always growing next to the ragweed is goldenrod, which is a perfect cure for those allergies. And a lot of people actually mistake the goldenrod for causing the allergies when in fact it's the ragweed. So any other weeds you can think of?
Poison ivy.
Sure. Yeah. And Ralph Waldo Emerson said that a weed is but a plant whose virtues have yet to be discovered. So, and that's a beautiful saying because there's just so much we don't know.
What?
You know, there's so much power in these plants. And yeah, they've been studied for thousands of years, and some of it's written in books, and some of it's not, and some of it's passed down orally, and you know, a lot of that gets lost a lot of times. And in today's modern era, you know, obviously modern medicine's kind of taken over, and what we're trying to do is trying to bring back the natural. I believe there's a time and a place for everything. I'm not anti-medicine in any way, shape, or form, but I believe there needs to be a balance, and we need to work together, and we need to use the power of nature and use the power of modern medicine and technology at the same time. But getting back to raw wild plants, one of the first things I just want to talk to you a little bit about is kind of what's going on in the world, what's going on in the industry when it comes to foods and plants and farming and cultivation and things like that. And a lot of you are kind of familiar with this, but this kind of leads into why finding the right... Hello, have a seat. How are you?
Just fine.
Good. That finding the best quality raw wild foods can be so amazing for our health, especially in today's world. So, hey, come on in. Welcome.
Hi.
Okay. So kind of a little bit about what's going on. A lot of you are kind of familiar with what's going on with the world and farming and cultivation and things like that. But the reason I like raw wild foods so much is that it's really one of the only foods that's left in the world that hasn't been commercialized. You know, we all eat our fruits and vegetables, or we know we're supposed to eat our fruits and vegetables and these kind of things. But even these kind of foods have become very commercialized and monopolized by big companies. And they're grown on large farms, and they use a lot of chemicals and things of that nature. And a lot of herbs and a lot of these raw wild foods are kind of one of the only things that's left that hasn't been altered or destroyed by man. And eventually that might happen, but you know, hopefully not. So, hello.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Couldn't find you.
So, when it comes to farming, for example, even a lot of the herbs that we're consuming are grown on large farms. We're all told, or we've heard that, you know, we should really buy organic, right? Everybody's kind of into the organic thing. Well, there's actually something much better than organic, which surprises a lot of people. But it's raw wild foods. It's what's called wild crafting. Has anybody heard that term before? Wild crafted? Some of you have. So wild crafted basically just means you go out in the woods, in the meadow, in the field, and you collect these plants yourself. And obviously there's a lot that comes with that. It's the knowledge of the plants, identification, doing it sustainably, all these different things. But that is so much more powerful than even eating organic foods. Because one thing I always tell people is, just because you bought it at Whole Foods doesn't mean it's good for you. Just because it's organic doesn't mean it's the best quality. And a lot of us are kind of fooled into believing that way. And that's what they want us to think, so that we buy their products. But it really frustrates me when I go into Whole Foods, even here in Kansas City, and they have 7 different kinds of apples, and A, not one of them's local, but B, they're not even from the United States. So we got 7 different kinds of apples from New Zealand and Chile and Mexico. And yeah, they're organic, but you know, they were picked way before they were ripe. They're put on a plane or a truck or whatever, shipped 2,000 miles, and we think just because it's organic, it's good for us. Fact of the matter is, if you pick something before it's ripe, it has very little nutritional value. As soon as you pick something off the tree, it starts to lose nutrient quality very quickly. So that's, again, why it's so important to get these raw wild foods and learn how to get them kind of into our daily plan. Same thing in the supplement industry. And by the way, if anyone has any questions, please ask, because it kind of breaks the monotony a little bit. So if you have a question, just raise your hand and throw it out there. Otherwise, you might forget or whatever. So I love questions. The supplement industry. Same kind of thing has happened in the supplement industry, unfortunately. People are interested in health. I came from Las Vegas, where it was huge. The coasts are huge. Everybody knows that natural health's huge in California and on the coast, and Oregon and Washington. On the East Coast, it's big, and it's kind of slower to filter into Kansas City, but people in Kansas City, just like anywhere else, want to be healthy, and they want to know how to do that. So what are we doing? We're going to stores and we're buying supplements. We're buying health foods. And that's one thing that I'm really trying to educate people on, is that, just like I said with Whole Foods, just because you go to a health food store and buy something doesn't mean it's good, doesn't mean it's quality. I'm really big on knowing your source, knowing what the ingredients are on the label. We're all learning how to read labels. Couple examples I like to use is vitamin C, for example. Almost everybody knows vitamin C is good and everybody takes vitamin C. 99% of the vitamin C on the market is ascorbic acid. Does anybody know where ascorbic acid comes from? It comes from one of two sources, either corn or coal tar.
Wow.
And almost all corn, because it's such a huge commercialized product, is genetically modified. I mean, I'm from Iowa, I was born in Iowa, my grandparents were farmers, and they had to buy their seed from Monsanto, and it was genetically hybridized and genetically modified, and I don't even want to get into that, because it's really scary, you know, what's going on. I call Monsanto the most evil company in the world.
They are.
You guys know this, that's great. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's what's happening, is people are trying to take advantage of people trying to get healthy by giving them poor quality nutrients just to make money. And that's why it's really important to read labels, talk to people, know your source, talk to somebody who's really knowledgeable about these things. Because if you're just blindly walking into XYZ and buying supplements, you don't know what you're getting unless you're educating yourself. And you're studying and you're researching and you're looking these things up online, and do your homework. That's very important. Any questions about that? I gave you so many more examples.
So how do they make vitamin C out of coal tar?
If you only knew what they could make out of coal tar. Well, you know Vaseline is coal tar, right? Yeah. Does it look like oil? No. There's coal tar in a lot of baby food products.
What is coal tar? I mean, what is it?
It's from coal. Yeah,
It's just coal.
Yeah. It's from oil. It's from coal. Yeah. There's just a. What's that?
So it comes from the earth. It's a natural product.
Oh yeah. Still gotta be careful with that. Yeah. So. Yeah. But
So you're saying Vaseline, is that why they say it closes your pores up and it's not good for you?
Mhm.
What about shea butter?
Shea butter's great.
Raw?
Mhm.
Because I had it. Okay.
Yeah, shea butter's fine. There's actually a company called. There's a company, and their name of their product is Unpetroleum Jelly. Because so many people are familiar with petroleum jelly, it's unpetroleum jelly. So it's like petroleum jelly, but there's no coal, there's no oil. Believe me, I've been trying to get my mom off of Vaseline for years.
I just got off it probably about 4 years ago.
Yeah. So, and people use that stuff just like liberally, and on their children. They don't know. And I'm like, would you rub mortar oil on your child? No, you wouldn't, but that's technically what you're doing. There's great replacements. Coconut, is an awesome thing for that. Any other questions? Another example is vitamin E. Anybody know where vitamin E comes from? What do you buy in the health food store? Yep. Almost every single vitamin E supplement out there is from soy. And there's some much better sources. Vitamin C, for example, the highest known sources in the world are amla berries, camu berries, acerola cherries. In foods, you can find them high in broccoli and green bell peppers, obviously citrus fruits. Now, there's tons of sources for these foods, but we're buying a supplement because we're told or we're trained that we need one. And instead of consuming a quality supplement or quality foods, we're just going and buying a pill. And that's one thing about science, that I love science, but at the same time it drives me insane. Because the technology's great, and we can look into these plants and we can see the different nutrients are in there, and we can look into the body and see what different nutrients our body needs. But what ends up happening is that we hear all this information about you need this, you need this, you need this, that we end up going to the store, and then every morning we're opening our cupboard and we're taking a vitamin A, a B complex, a vitamin C, a vitamin D, a vitamin K, a calcium supplement, magnesium supplement, we need our antioxidant, you need CoQ10, and you're taking 20 pills a day. And to me, that's just complete madness. And I just try to show people that there's superfoods you can take, there's herbs you can take that have a lot of these nutrients within them, captured within them, and they're not these, what we call isolates, if anyone's ever heard that term. An isolate is it's usually a synthetic. It's something created in a laboratory by men in a white coat. You know, when you're reading a label, if you read like a multivitamin, for example, and it's got all the vitamins and minerals listed, but then under the ingredients, there's no ingredients listed. Where did those vitamins and minerals you think they came from? They're synthetic. You've got to have a source. It's got to have a food base. Okay?